Hi, this is Axel of Gravedigger speaking, and you're listening to Sonic Perspectives.
Hello everyone, it's Rodrigo here bringing you another interview for Sonic Perspectives. Our guest today is Mr. Axel RITT from Gravedigger, one of the most consistent bands of the German metal scene. Axel, it's great to have you here with us.
Hi, Rodrigo. It's nice to be with you.
Yeah, first of all, let me ask you one thing. We were supposed to talk with Chris Boltendahl today, but I got the news yesterday that you'd be doing the interview. Is everything okay with him?
Yeah, that's fine with him because unfortunately he had, I guess, about 10 interviews today, and he asked me if I can take some of them because it was too much for him, and so it's
Right.
no problem.
Well, it makes sense. Okay. Now, I was curious because with everything that's going on these days, you never know, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, now that we clarified that, I'm happy to talk to you. And this year, you're celebrating 40 years of existence of Gravedigger. That's a milestone that not many bands can say they achieved, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a big number, of course, as you can imagine. Of course, there are bands like Judas Priest who got the 50th anniversary this year, I guess. But I think 40 is it's a big number, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, to celebrate this important anniversary, you guys have a new release called Fields of Blood. Can you give us an overview of the album?
Well, Fields of Blood is, as far as I know, the 20th album of Gravedigger history.
Hmm.
And it's the last part of the Scottish history trilogy. We had two albums already called Tunes of War and The Clans Will Rise Again, who got as the main theme the Scottish history.
Mhm.
And Fields of Blood is the last part of that now.
Okay, and would you say there's a connection between Tunes of War and The Clans Will Rise Again, or sonically or lyrically at least?
Most of the part, I think, lyrically is the most important thing. And
Mhm.
of course, regarding the instruments we used on the album, because we had for the third time now the big Scottish bagpipes. We got historic drummers, real bagpipes, real drummers. We invited them to the studio and they did their part. So no samples, no nothing.
Mm.
And so we got a big connections to the other albums where we did these instruments as well.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to ask you this. So you actually used an actual bagpipe on Gathering of
Yeah,
the Clans and the title track as well, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
that is crazy. That is crazy.
It's a crazy instrument, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of bands choose to celebrate anniversary with compilations, live releases, reissues. I, for one, am
Yeah,
glad you chose to do an album with new material.
yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, you see, we do have best of, or let's say re-recordings in the past, but we in general we do have these periods of 2 years. So 1 year album, second year touring, 1 year album, and I think it doesn't make sense to do reissue or remastering or all that, to be honest, pretty boring stuff.
Mm.
Instead of doing stuff like that, we can write a new album, record a new album. I think it makes more sense for the fans doing new stuff than warm up some old stuff.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And let me ask you about the statement that the band published recently, saying that you will not perform in front of cars or in concerts where social distancing is required, and will
Yeah.
not stream ghost concerts on the internet. However, you release a new album every year as long as you can't play live. Does that mean you
That's
guys are
right.
already writing, or?
No, that's
Mm,
that's a real statement, and we are real of the opinion that, of course, everybody's talking about the Corona stuff worldwide, and
yeah.
my colleagues, and especially the business regarding light and sound companies, most of them went insolvent at the moment, or bankrupt, or whatever, and so we think it doesn't make sense to do stuff in between, like let's say these concerts, as some of our colleagues do in I don't know what's the English word. It's in German. It's called the automobile theater,
It's drive-in.
movie
Drive-in.
theaters. Yeah, and
Yeah.
to try to do some concerts anyway, but with a distance of 1.5 meters between the people, and for us that doesn't make sense. Or these ghost concerts from the rehearsal rooms without any audience and so. And we thought, okay, maybe the people understand why we won't play live until this disaster is over. But what can we do in between to give the people some music? And so we thought, okay, then don't let go on with the 2-year interval. Let's do 1-year interval. And it's real. Chris and I already started writing new songs for the next album, although the new album will be released in 2 weeks. Yeah. So that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's messing up everybody's schedule, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, going back to Fields of Blood, would you say you used the same writing and recording method this time around, or did you use a different approach from your previous album?
No, it's the same ritual we used for the last, well, let's say, wait a second, I think for the last 7 or 8 albums, maybe the same ritual since I'm in the band. I joined the band in 2009, and since that we do have the same ritual. So this means I do the guitar recordings in my studio. I got my own studio, and we do the pre-production in my studio, and the rest will be done in the Principal Studios, the big studio here in Germany, one of the last big studios we do have in here. And never change a running system. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that everyone has the chance to contribute with lyrics, riffs, and harmonies, or does that come primarily from you and Chris? I mean, how do you guys split the work?
In regular cases, we do it like Chris is doing all lyrics, and Chris is doing the vocal lines and all that stuff. I'm doing the rest, so all instruments, all guitars, and I do the bass lines, the drum lines, do some programming with this, and these guide stuff will be handed to our bass player Jens and our drummer Marcus, and they do the real stuff. And of course, they're doing better on their instruments than I do on their instruments. And Chris and I are doing the arrangements together. But you can say Chris is doing all the vocal stuff, and I'm doing all the musical stuff.
Okay. And one of the first songs to be revealed was All for the Kingdom, with a great video and a solo full of classic music influences. Tell me about that solo in particular.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me about this solo, and it's pretty funny because when Chris and I did the songwriting for this, and as I said, in regular cases we do the pre-production, so where everything has been recorded, but not in the high quality you do in the end. And I handed over the solo to Chris. I said that's what I think would fit good to the song. And Chris said, "Oh, neoclassical stuff. Maybe it's too close to guys like Malmsteen or whatever." And I said, "Yeah, of course, it's not the real typical Gravedigger solo stuff, but let's go one step further, yeah." And I think it's a good thing. And so in the beginning, Chris was not a real fan of that, but it changed, fortunately, while we do the recording. And so in the end, it was a very important part and a good part. As I said, well, a lot of people asked me about it. And I was happy that it made, in the end, its way to the final recordings. It's a little classic stuff. It's some German stuff, and like Bach, and of course, and guys like that. It's not very special, but it got this classical touch here.
Oh yeah, it certainly stands out for sure. Yeah. And another interesting song, which is quite intense, is Thousand Tears, that you recorded with Noora from Battle Beast. Tell me about the decision to work with her.
Let's say Battle Beast was on tour in Europe, and they were pretty close to my place, let's say 30 kilometers or 20 miles away from me. And they had a day off. And we thought this would be a good idea, that maybe she got the time while on tour to do some recording with us. And we were not sure if this was able, but she was absolutely professional, uncomplicated, And it was a pleasure to work with her because she's a singer like hell. Yeah, it's an absolutely singer like hell. To be honest, to my opinion, the best female metal singer worldwide in these days. And she was so professional. She did all the harmony stuff, and she came in, did the vocals, changed her dress to her stage outfit, did the recordings for the video with us. Yeah. And then I brought her to the railway station, and they traveled the night over to the next city where they did the next show with Battle Beast
Oh, wow.
the next day. And this was all within, let's say, 4 or 5 hours, and it's impressed me a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I bet, I bet. And that song is almost like a sequel to the Ballad of Mary, Queen of Scots, which you did with Doro on
Yeah.
Tunes of War, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And you just released the Lions of the Sea video, which was planned to be done in Scotland. Well,
Yeah.
I actually liked the video and wanted to ask you how different did it turn out compared to your original plan or your original script
Uh,
for this song?
Rodrigo, you can't imagine. It was so horrible. We had real big plans
Mm.
doing the video in Scotland. We had a great or a huge video crew. This would be about 20 or 30 people who have planned to move to Scotland and do the recordings in 1 week over there. And we had everything was booked, the hotel and the
Ah,
locations and all that stuff. It was a real big thing. It should have been the biggest video we have ever shot. And the day came closer and closer, and we saw this wouldn't work out with this fucking Corona stuff over there. And
yeah.
so we have to cancel everything, and I had the whole script, and everything was written, and it was a very big disappointment for us, and especially for the fans as well. So yeah, we did the best we can do. I'm happy if the fans liked the video, but if they would have seen what we saw in our minds in the end for the final video, they would have been as disappointed as well as we are. Yeah, but
Oh man.
you can't do anything at the moment here. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, I know. At least you took a different alternative that turned out well in the end, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We took some scenes of the DVD, some live scenes of the DVD, which has been shot on our last tour in Japan, in Tokyo,
Hmm.
to make it a little, to put maybe at least some final, some pictures of the band in there, because there are no video sequences at the moment. You can't record anything. You're not allowed to meet the people or to meet some directors to do some stuff here, and
Yeah.
so it was pretty difficult to find any content to put it in the video when the
Yeah.
band isn't there. Yeah? So it's horrible.
Yeah.
But as long as the people like it, and the main thing still is the music, and hopefully it does the job. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I love the contrast between the slow tempo of The Heart of Scotland, for example, and the more fast-paced songs like You Know of the Crowd, for example. To me, it's important to pace your album in a way that it shows variance between the songs, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah, it is. We do have some that there is the classical Gravedigger stuff, like for example this All for the Kingdom,
Yeah.
which can't be more Gravedigger, for example. Yeah, and of course we need some speed numbers, and there's also these let's say these heavy stomping stuff like Heart of Scotland, and I think that we got these three different styles what the fans like to hear, and we did our best to present what we think what the fans like to hear. And as far as I see the reviews, and I think it worked out well so far, and that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah. Well, let's not forget the songs that's almost designed to be sung live. My Final Flight, right? It's almost by design. You see a crowd joining in the
Yeah,
chant and everything.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And I kind of wish you guys played all these songs in a row on tour. Would you consider playing this album in full in a potential tour, or has that been discussed yet?
The problem is if you do have 20 albums out, yeah, and
Oh yeah.
it's the same. Ask Angus Young of AC/DC what what he will ever play on tour, yeah, and
Yeah.
there's always that somebody said, oh, I missed this one and that one, and so if we gonna play an album like this in a row, yeah, there would be 16 minutes gone of a
Yeah.
maybe 90 minutes show, whatever, yeah, and what we planned this year. We had a lot of big festivals here in Europe. The biggest ones like the Wacken Open Air and the Rock Hearts. These are very big numbers in here. And there was the plans to do a real big thing like we do have a real Scottish Highland bagpipers orchestra here in Germany, which got about 50 or 60 members.
Oh wow.
And they should have entered the stage together with us and some drummers. So we all in all had in Turge about 80 people on stage doing a real big show, and only Scottish stuff would have been played by Tunes of War, the Clans Will Rise Again, and the new album. This was the plan so far
Wow.
for 2020. Yeah. And so you see the next disappointment in the band because all these stuff are gone as well. And hopefully we can do some of this in 1 year later in 2021. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, it'll come for sure. The question is when, right?
Hopefully.
The $1 million question is when. But anyway, we carry on. Yeah. Well, tell me about the cover art, which to me is a step above the more recent albums, I think. Did you guys use the same artist as before?
No, we did a different. We took a different one. Chris is the one who is doing the complete cover artwork together with the artist, and this time it was very important for us not to do a cover which has been collected or style at the Photoshop stuff, and this time we wanted to have an album which was really painted, and we had a Russian artist. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name.
That's fine.
But in regular cases, he's doing this real heavy death metal, blood killing baby stuff here, and so so this is not our this kind of pictures we would like to have, but the style he used was really impressive. And Chris got in contact with him, and he told him what we would like to have. And as far as I know, 2 hours later, we got the first draft from him by a simple painting. And all in all, it took half a year to finish the artwork, but this is a real vintage, old school artwork. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does have that feel for sure.
Yeah.
And Chris is the only member from the original lineup. I think the only person to appear on each and every song recorded by this band. Aside from him, I think Jens has been with the band the longest, and then it's you, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you find that seniority dictates how you guys make the decisions in the band, or not really?
Chris does have the final say. He's the owner of the trademark Gravedigger.
Okay.
And so we discuss everything in the band, and everybody got his opinion, and he can tell it. There's a lot of discussion as well. But if there is maybe a 50-50 situation in the end, where maybe Chris is saying A and I'm saying B or whatever, then in the end he will take the final decision how it's gonna be made.
Okay.
But it's not like a dictator or stuff like that. It's a real band feeling. But someone has to have the final say, as you said, and that's Chris. Yeah.
I understand. And
you can say if you compare it with the ship, for example, you can say Chris is the captain and I'm the first official, for example. So I'm going to discuss with him. I make some help or offer some help or whatever. But at the end, the captain say what has been done.
Fair enough. Well, in any case, you've been with the band for 10 years now. What would you say were the highest points and the lowest in your time with Gravedigger?
The highest point, of course, was the Wacken Open Air headliner show in 2010. in front of, I guess it was 90,000 screaming people, and this was unbelievable. This thing, everybody in the band will name this event as the biggest point anyway at Gravedigger. And well, the lowest thing, there were some parts in between. But to be honest, I'm not willing to tell them in public.
That's
because
okay.
they're with some former band members or whatever, and I think it's not up to the public to get informed by this. But this was a very, very minor things, not big things. Yeah?
That's okay.
So it's not that important.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I think the lineup changes always bring some sort of tension in the band, but let's leave that aside for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope the fans will understand. But I think it's always better to keep the minus or the negative things in the band and not put it to the people, because the people should see the good things and the fine things and should have the fun with the band. Yeah, not the dark sides.
Yeah. And after 10 years, I still see comments here and there from so-called fans about your playing. And, he's not playing Excalibur the proper way, blah, blah, blah. Do you care about their criticism at all? I mean, do you give your ear to those comments? Or?
Well, it depends how these comments are written down, And I know what the people mean. It's, let's say, for example, Excalibur. It's an awesome song. It's a great composition. Yeah. But to be honest, I don't like the original solo. Yeah, I know some people will kill me for that, but I don't like it. And whenever there's a part I like, I put them in my playing. But if there's a part I don't like or where I think I can do better, then I do different stuff. And as long as Chris said, that's great, it's fine with me. Yeah? And so I do copy some solo stuff of my predecessors when I'm a fan of it. But well, it's I personally like the new solo more than the old solo. But I understand that the fans say, well, that's not the original solo. Yeah, but you see, it's a new lineup. Well, what's in the lineup? As you said, 10 or 11 years from now I'm in the band. So you can compare it to AC/DC once again. Like Brian Johnson is singing a whole lot of Rosie. Yeah. Of course, he can't sing it. He can't sing it like Bon Scott did. But it's different.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I became a fan after you had already joined. So for me, I'm okay with whatever changes you made. I don't really mind.
That's great.
Yeah. And my final question, it's been 9 years since your last live album. Do you have plans for a new one? I mean, your live set has changed quite a bit since then, right?
Yeah. And here we are again in 2020 with the Corona stuff.
Oh yeah.
Of course, there was a plan maybe to do some live recordings, but at the big open airs we should have performed this year. Maybe we can do in 2021. 2021. That there maybe is a chance to do stuff or some live recordings, but they only make sense, to my opinion, when the venue and the event is the right one. Yeah. And maybe I would like to.
Yeah. I guess it makes sense that you guys are waiting and not willing to do like smaller scale shows. You got to have that big crowd for a Gravedigger show, for sure.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Well, Axel, thank you so much for your time, and I'm really excited about what the future holds for Gravedigger.
Thanks for the interview and have a nice day.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this interview with Axel from Gravedigger. You can listen to it also on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcast, and iHeartRadio. Also, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let's wrap it up with the song Lions of the Sea from Gravedigger's new album, Fields of Blood. Stay safe and see you next time.